Right, we're starting our centre section of our top wing. We've done our two wing halves. They're all roughly sanded to shape now, so basically what we need to do is we need to put our front main spar and our rear main spar down for the centre section. What we've done with that, we've got our W1 and our W4 ribs. We've put the front spar in, used these ribs to line up the rear spar and pinned it all into place. What we need to do now is we need to offer up our left half of the wing up to this area here. I've pre-sanded the spars a slight angle to allow for the dihedral, and it's a matter of just putting the wing in place now, and we've got to chock it up at the wing tip rib by 1 3/8. So what I'll do, I'll get on and do that and just show you how we do that. So we've got our wing. Here's our dihedral braces, so that should hopefully slot in there like so and line up. Okay, I'm going to take this rib out now because we don't really need it at the moment, and then what I'll do is if I pan up to the other end of the wing and just zoom in a bit for you, you should see here that I have a little block which has got a piece of balsa which is exactly 1 3/8 thick. So what we need to do, we just need to lift our wing here, put our block into location. The other thing we need to do is we need, with our square, we need to make sure that the wing's nice and square with the plans. So I'm just going to lift this up again, pop that in here like so, put that back on the block, and then I'm going to line up the top of the wing leading edge with the plan as per when we built it. Just give her a little push into position and she should be all lined up, and that's our dihedral. So that gives our dihedral. If I just pan out again and then come back to our centre section, and if I pan in now, you'll see that the dihedral brace is all sitting nice and securely in its correct location, and we have our proper dihedral lift. Okay, so the next job now is to actually glue this dihedral brace into these spars. So I'll get on and do that. Again, I'm going to use 30-minute epoxy to do this, and once that's set we'll come back and we'll move on to the next section. Right, we've glued our dihedral braces to the front and rear spars of the centre section. The next job is to enter into the equation these carbine mounts. We've got two of them. One sits in front of the front spar at the leading edge end, and the other one sits directly against the dihedral brace and obviously the wing root of the left wing panel. So what I'm going to do now is glue these into place. Again, I'm going to use epoxy to do this because I want to keep this area as strong as possible, because this is going to take some of the strain of the flight when the model is in the air. So I'll do that and then I'll get back to you with them glued in place. Right, they're epoxied in now. What we need to do now is we've got our bottom sheeting like we did on the main wing. That's our top, and then we've got a bottom piece underneath. We have to do exactly the same again, so we have to do aft and we have to do the central. We have to place that in and glue that into position. Okay, so that's the next job I'm going to do. I shall get that all glued in, and then we come back, then we can start thinking about putting the W3 ribs in, pretty much similar way as we did on our main wing panel section. Okay, so I'll do that now and we'll get back to you in a minute. Right, we've got our sheeting in. The next thing to do is put our W3 ribs in, but before we can do this, this is 3/32s and this is 1/8. So when we put this rib in, it's going to sit just proud of this sheeting. So what we've had to do is to put a notch in the back end so that when the rib goes in, it seats in nicely. Done that on both of them because two ribs have got down. The first rib I'm going to put in is the actual one that sits flush against the wing panel W3 rib. So to add a bit more strength to all this, I'm going to use epoxy. Again, it's 30-minute epoxy. I'm just going to spread that around liberally on the rib, and once we've got enough on there, we locate it into position. I'm also going to put some on the end of the rib where the rib sits on top of the sheeting, because again I want to give this plane as much chance of success in here as possible, so I want a nice strong joint. Okay, and obviously the two ends as well that are going to actually connect with the dihedral brace. Okay, so I think we're nearly there. Okay, yep. Right, it's just a case now of offering that into position. Again, pushing down, making sure we've got our 332 gap all the way across the top to accept our sheeting, our top sheeting. And then I'm just going to place a couple of clamps in place just to keep it in position. Okay, right. Again, it's 30-minute epoxy, so we don't have to rush this. If it was 5 minutes, it would be a bit more of a concern for me. But there you go, that's in place. The next thing I'm going to do is put my second W3 rib in, and I'm not going to epoxy that in. I'm just going to use ordinary aliphatic glue to do that. So next time you come back, we can then start looking on the next processes in doing the rib, and I think that's the W1 rib, this one here, that we need to get in place, and then I'll let that cure overnight, let it all have a good dry, and then because my building board's not the total length of the wing, I will lift the plans and move everything down so we can get the other wing paneling in, and then start doing the same procedure on the other side. And then once we've got the same state as we've got on this one, then we can look at doing these areas here and putting our riblets in as the instructions say. Okay, thank you. Right, the last job I'm going to do today is put this W1 rib in. Again, we've got to make allowances for this 1/8 carbane strut either end. So again, we've had to notch the rib out. You can see there, I've notched the rib there, and also down this end here. I'm going to just glue that into position. I'm just going to use a mixture of two glues really. The epoxy, which I'm just going to use to go down the edge of the dihedral brace. Give us a nice secure bond there. And then the remainder, where we need to glue, I will just glue in with our aliphatic glue, and it's just really a case of running some along our notches. Likewise this end here, be careful of this little bit here. Okay, and then just insert that into position. Again, we need to make sure everything's sitting nice and square, so I use my set square to just run along and make sure everything's nice and tightly locking into place. And that's it. I have a few bits and pieces where the glue's overrun again, and again, as I said to you, I like to keep everything nice and tidy. I will just take those access off, so we've got a nice neat job. Okay, so that's it for now. Next time we come back, you will see that this has been lifted off the board and the whole lot moved up, so I can get the other panel in, and I've got enough area to put my 1 3/8 chocking block at the wingtip, and we can start doing exactly the same process for the right side of the wing. Okay, thank you for watching.